Hi, welcome to Chats with the Chaplain. I'm Jess. Last week we started a series around stress, and in the first video I talked about the upside of stress, that it can actually be good for us. It does have a place and it can actually help us to perform better and have the energy and the focus that we need for certain tasks. So there is an upside to stress. This week, I want to talk about managing stress and managing the stress response when it's not so great for us. Often the problem isn't in the things in our life that cause us stress and trying to eliminate all causes of stress, but rather it's what we do with the stress response that is the key. And that's what will help prevent burnout and overwhelm, is how we deal with the stress response. Now, there's a great book called Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. So there is something called the stress cycle, and often where the problem lies is in not completing the stress cycle when we've had a stress response. So in it, they talk about the difference between a stressor and stress response. So the stressor is anything that can activate that stress response in us. It can be anything that we can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, or imagine that might harm us. So if we perceive something to be a threat, our body and our minds will still react as if it's a real threat, and we will initiate a stress response. And so that stress response is then the physical and the brain's way of responding as well. So a stressor could be something like work, could be money, could be family, could be time, expectations. It could be your own internal self-criticisms. It could be your own body image or memories or identity or things like that. The stress response is then what happens once we've perceived that something might be a threat. And so that will be a physical response, so that heightened sort of heart rate, faster breathing, that body getting ready to fight or flight or freeze. And it will also change how we respond in our brains as well. So the key here is completing that stress cycle and dealing with that stress response. And because the stress response is so physical, one of the best ways that you can complete the stress cycle is to actually move. It's one of the most efficient ways of stress management and dealing with the stress that we have in our lives and that we hold in our bodies. So whatever movement looks like for you, and that's where you get to have fun with it. It could be dancing around the living room. It could be jumping up and down, doing jumping jacks. Perhaps it's getting out in the garden, doing some really vigorous house cleaning, going for a walk, going for a run, going for a kayak, whatever sort of movement works for you. Yoga as well, that can be really relaxing. So physical movement is one of the key ways that we can deal with the stress response and help complete the cycle. So get moving is really the top thing that you can do. Other things that you can do to complete the stress cycle include giving a 20-second hug. So grab your partner or a friend, a family member, or your pet. Have a nice long hug, because that can release the chemical oxytocin, which is really that feel-good and bonding emotion, and is part of the stress response and helping your stress come down as well. Getting sleep is really important. We've talked about that for rest and recovery. Any sort of positive social interaction is really good for completing the stress cycle as well. So make sure you've got time with your friends and family that is fun and that is positive. Laughing, great one for stress response. Crying as well. Try not to hold back when you need to cry. Yes, there might be more appropriate times, but crying is part of completing the stress cycle, and the hormones and the chemicals we release in the tears when we cry, when we're upset or stressed, are actually quite different to other types of tears. So it's helping actually release stuff from your body that needs to come out. So having a good cry session is actually a really valid stress response and will help you. Deep breathing is another one, because that will switch us to the sort of rest and digest system and help slow everything down, help bring our breathing down, help bring our heart rate down, and just help calm the nervous system and the body. Remember, stress is a physical response as well. So deep breathing, or taking just a minute just to slow down your breathing, is really important as well. It's these small and regular practices that are actually really important and that will actually help prevent burnout and will help you to manage your stress well and complete the stress cycle. It could be other things as well, like doing a regular gratitude practice. It could be, some of those relaxation and breathing techniques, or having a chat with someone just to get things off your chest and talk things through. And this is where Uprise is really helpful, because you can actually go through and do a bunch of modules on stress management. You can do breathing exercises, mindfulness exercises. There's a whole module around pleasant activity scheduling so that you've got things to look forward to as well. And you can book a session with a registered coach or counselor and just have someone that you can talk to and get everything off your chest and just unravel your mind and help complete that stress cycle. So I do really recommend you jumping on Uprise as well. But don't forget that it's more about how we respond to stress that is the key here to preventing burnout and overwhelm. So make sure that you're doing things in your day-to-day that help you complete that stress cycle. So get moving, get good sleep, have positive social interactions. Make sure you give lots of hugs to your family and friends and the people you feel comfortable with, and practice some of that breathing as well. Hopefully you found that helpful, and next week we're going to talk a little bit more around when stress becomes more chronic and how to prevent and deal with burnout as well. Thanks so much.